Hey folks, Dave here, the developer of the Hyperborea system for Foundry VTT, and I thought I might take a few minutes today to really dive into the functionality of the turn tracker and calendar that I've built into the system. I know there are third-party calendars and turn trackers that people like, GMs might install into their Foundry instance. But in this case, I've actually provided this tool right built into the Hyperborea system. So you don't need a third-party tool. Unless maybe you do for some feature that I don't have. But we'll just demonstrate those capabilities right here, and maybe you'll find that you don't actually need a third-party app to manage the calendar and the turns. So, starting with the actual turn tracker, you can see it down here in the chat bar, right at the bottom, right above where you start typing messages. And you can see it's got a number of buttons. It tracks turn progression with the turn counter there. It shows the time, and it shows the calendar date in a single, nice little unified display. You can click the Turn Advance button or Advance Turn button, and you can see it advance to turn 2. It also advances the time by 10 minutes, which is one turn in the Hyperborea game. And we'll advance it again. And you can also reverse the time, decrement the turn and the time by hitting the Retreat Turn button. So now it says turn 2, time is 8:10, back to turn 1. You can't go negative, it'll just do nothing after that. The current turn state can also be sent directly to chat with this little chat balloon here, and you can see now the current exploration turn is 1, time is 8 a.m. This is good for time stamping a specific turn or time within your chat history in the context of a game session. I also do this as a GM myself at the end of a session so that I don't accidentally, change things later when I'm maybe doing prep for a follow-up session or something like that. I remember where the game left off for the next session. The turn tracker is fully integrated with the calendar app. There's a calendar button right here. Click that to open the calendar. So this is the calendar app that I'm talking about. Again, this is built into the Hyperborea system. It's not a third-party calendar app. And as you can see, it's got a number of buttons and capabilities here. First of all, you've actually got a 28-day month displayed. Both moons and their current phase is displayed. The current day is highlighted, and you can see this is the month here, the current year, with the long and common names for that year as well as the number. And of course, you've got the function buttons along the bottom. So as time advances, the calendar does update automatically. So you can see the current time is 8 o'clock. So when I advance the turn in the turn tracker, 8:10 becomes 8:10 right up here. And of course, it would decrement if I went backwards as well, just like that. Crossing midnight does advance the date. Now I'm just going to do this very quickly here. We'll reset our turn start time. And there we go. And now, as you can see, I'm starting at 11:30 p.m., 23:30. It is a 24-hour clock, as you can tell. So when I start advancing the turns here, there we go. We just hit midnight, and the day advanced from the 16th to the 17th. And you can see it's 10 minutes after midnight, hour 0. So if I then go backwards, the date also will go backwards. There we go. You can see it went back to the 16th, or Earth Day, from the 17th. So it will go back and forth, integrated with the turn tracker. The calendar then allows full control over your timekeeping. You can define the start time of the day, which is this thing that I just edited a minute ago. So we'll change that back to 8 a.m. just by doing that, and then I press enter. Now the current time is not changed yet. You can see it still says turn 2, 23:40 p.m. This is just the start time. So in order to restart it, I just click the reset, and that forces a refresh and actually does reset the turn. If the turn had been some other number, it would be reset to 1 as well as the time at the same time. The date can also be changed independently of turns. You can simply click a day to change it. So you can see I'm clicking 17:18. You can see the date is changing down on the turn tracker, but the turn numbers are not changing. And I'll even just advance this just a couple of turns so you can see nothing changes. So there we go. And now when I change the date it stays on turn 3 and 8:20 a.m. So you can do that independently of the turns. You can also click the advance date button right here. This does the advance the date without actually resetting the turns. So when I do that, you can see it advances to the 17th and then advances to the 18th. And you can see the turn has not been affected. And I can send it to the chat. And there was a little bit of a delay on the display of the date here, so I just clicked the 18th to force a refresh on the display. And you can also advance the day and reset the turns back to 1 automatically with this button right here. You can see the tooltip says advance day plus reset turns. So if I do that, it advanced it to the 19th. It reset it to the current start time. As you can see down here, turn 1. You can see again, sometimes there's a weird little delay there. In the reset, you can just force a refresh. The date underlying the display is correct. And that is just this seems to be a factor of me running it in forgevtt.com. Not that I'm blaming them, but I sometimes have some lag, and then there's a lag in the display. So when I run it on my local laptop, running it locally, there's no issues there. So anywho, let's see here. Reset the turn, we did that. All the calendar fields, of course, are fully adjustable by the GM. So if a player opens the calendar, these are read-only. You can click, but nothing happens. But the GM, referee, can change the month. You can change the date. This is a number field, so I can even just arrow up and arrow down. I'm not clicking or typing in there. I'm just arrowing up and down to change that number one at a time. You can see that sometimes other things change automatically, like I just backed up or advanced a couple of years and the season changed from summer to fall. And if I back up to 580 from 581, you can see the season changed back to summer. So again, fully integrated, all that data is constantly updating automatically. I already showed clicking on a day can change the current date, and just like that, or you can use those advanced buttons as well. Okay, back to the turn tracker itself then. There's also some automation hooks that I've built into the tracker. So we've got this little gear button here. So if I click him, you can see I've got what's called turn advance actions. So these are actions that would be executed anytime you advance the turn. And you can do either roll tables or macros, and I've got one of each here. You can see they're not currently enabled, so nothing would be happening. As I advance the turn, of course, nothing happens. But if I enable both of them, what happens is they both get executed every time I advance the turn, just like that. Oh, I forgot to hit save, my bad. Now that I've saved that enabled state, they will both get executed when I advance the turn, just like that. And there we go. So you see, first of all, turn 3 is not divisible by 6, no damage applied. So what's going on there is I have this apply psychic damage, which is a macro, as you can see from the UUID, starts with macro. So that's a script. It actually checks to see if we're at the top of the hour. If we are at the top of the hour, it will apply psychic damage to all of the characters. Since we're currently at 8:20, not the top of the hour, it does not do anything, and it gives me that little UI message. I could, of course, disable that message, but I'm doing it strictly for the demonstration purposes of this video. But also, the roll table will get rolled every time I advance the turn. So you can see it actually rolled this is a wandering monster encounter table, and it rolled a class 1 lesser daemon. In fact, there's 1d2 of them, so I might actually get 2, although in this case I did in fact just roll 1. But that's how that works. So when I advance again, it's going to roll the encounter table again, and it rolled again. Still no damage applied. I'm actually going to roll it up to the point where we actually get some, there we go. There's the psychic damage being applied. So at turn 6, it's looking at the turn number divisible by 6. It's not looking at the hour and being evenly, at the top of an hour. So it just did on a turn 6 or turn 12 or something like that. This executes, and you can see it applied damage to the 3 characters that I have on my screen here, Alaric the Frank, Niella, and Carrick. They each take 1d3 psychic damage. And of course the idea is they're in some sort of haunted crypt, and it's doing mental damage to them while they're down here. So it's simply dangerous to be in here for a period of time. That happens every hour when it's going on. Okay, So that's the automation, and you can just basically add another action, and then all you can do, if you know the UUID, sure, that's great, you can type it, but otherwise you might just take and drag a macro. Like this apply psychic damage is the macro that I have. So let's just remove that for an example, and I'll get rid of that blank one there, save the changes. So now I can add an action, and I'm just going to re-add the apply psychic damage here. So I'm going to drag that right into the UUID field, and you can see it copied the UUID for the macro, and it brought in the name. And so you know, and of course I can make it public or I can whisper to the GM, but whispering to the GM is the default. And it starts as enabled by default, and then I just have to hit save changes to make sure it gets saved. But that's how you do that. You can do that with a roll table. Again, you could. There's my Crypt of Dalvernar encounter table, but I could add the action. I could drag this in here. I've already got it up top, so I'm just going to remove it, but that's all it is. It's just drag it in and you're done. It's that easy to add a new automation. Roll tables, obviously super easy. Macros, you know, if you write a little bit of scripting or have ChatGPT help you, or you can find macros online, you can just, any standard Foundry macro can be dragged in there and it'll be executed every time you advance the turn. There's also some UI flexibility with the turn tracker. This little tiny button in the upper right corner here, it's the float tracker button. If I click that, you can see the tracker now appeared in the lower left part of my screen. It actually can be, it's a floating app now. I can drag it wherever I want, and it will remember its last location from session to session. So if I prefer to keep it in the, I don't know, maybe the upper left corner right up here, and I can refresh my screen, I'll come back in a moment. And you can see I'm back, and you can see it reloaded right where it remembered where it left off last time, and it's not in the chat bar. And then if I click this little anchor button now, it re-anchors in the chat, which is the default location when the turn tracker is enabled. So it's a little, export button when it's in the tracker, and it becomes an anchor button when it's floating out here. So we'll re-anchor that back to its default location. And all of this is enabled in the settings here, Hyperborea 3rd edition, configure Hyperborea. In the UI options, enable the turn tracker. It is enabled by default. You can also choose to not show the date in the turn tracker, but it is enabled by default. If you disable the turn tracker, you will also obviously not get the date in the turn tracker. But assuming both of those are left as their default options, that's why you get the date right here. And honestly, the only reason why you might turn off that date is because you're trying to save a little bit of space. Otherwise, probably I imagine the vast majority of people will leave it right there because it is nice to have. And the players can see this. Again, it's read-only for the players, but the GM has the advance and retreat buttons. Players don't even see those buttons. So that's it. Quick demo of the turn tracker integrated with the calendar app, and all of it, of course, integrated with the Hyperborea system or built into the Hyperborea system for Foundry VTT. Okay, fellow Hyperboreans and adventurers, this is Dave, signing off.